The price of peace. 5 years had passed since the Valoran War, and Earth's skylines still bore the scars of that terrible conflict. Yet where burning wreckage had once fallen, gleaming spires of chromium and diamond glass now stretched toward the stars. Humanity had not merely survived, they had evolved. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the ESS Redemption, Earth's first hybrid warship incorporating salvaged Valoran technology. The massive vessel represented humanity's rebirth from the ashes of war, its sleek hull housing weapon systems that would have been impossible just years ago. But as she watched the construction yards of Luna cranking out more ships of the new Prometheus class, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that they would need every single one. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from Deep Space Station Epsilon," Lieutenant Rodriguez announced from his communication station. "They're reporting unusual energy signatures at the edge of chartered space." Chen's practiced calm didn't waver, but her hand unconsciously tightened on the railing. The last 5 years of relative peace had been purchased with Valoran blood. Their allies had sacrificed nearly everything to help humanity survive the Galactic Council's attempted genocide. Now, every unusual reading could herald the return of that threat. "Show me," she ordered, moving to the central holotank. The three-dimensional display materialized, showing a familiar pattern that made her breath catch. "That's a Valoran quantum wake signature." "Confirmed, Mom. But it's not matching any known refugee vessels from the war." The implications hit Chen like a physical blow. Throughout the conflict, they'd believed the Valoran homeworld had been completely destroyed by the Council's planet killer weapons. But these readings suggested otherwise. "Plot an intercept course, and get me a secure channel to Earth Command. They need to know we found survivors." The Redemption's hybrid engines powered up with a deep thrum that resonated through the ship's superstructure. As they prepared to jump, Chen reviewed the classified reports only a handful of humans had seen. The Valorans hadn't just been allies, they had been humanity's teachers, sharing technology centuries beyond Earth's development. Their near extinction had been punishment for that generosity. The quantum wake led them through 3 star systems before they found its source. Not a refugee ship, but an entire hidden colony. 7 massive habitat rings orbited a red dwarf star, each one housing tens of thousands of Valorans who had escaped the Council's purge. "By all the stars," Rodriguez whispered as the scans came in. "They'd been out here rebuilding this whole time." Chen was already composing her report to Earth Command when new alerts blared across the bridge. The quantum wake hadn't just led them to survivors, it had led them to something far more troubling. The habitat rings were preparing for evacuation. A transmission cut through their communications. "Earth vessel, this is Administrator Velen of Haven Colony. We've detected massive Council fleet movements near the core worlds. They're mobilizing on a scale we haven't seen since the war." Chen's tactical display updated with the new intelligence, showing hundreds of Council warships moving into attack formations. The peace humanity had worked so hard to rebuild was about to be shattered. "Administrator, this is Admiral Chen. We suspected they wouldn't stay quiet forever. But this time, Earth isn't the same world they nearly broke 5 years ago." She paused, studying the tactical plot. "We've learned from you, built on your legacy, and we're ready to finish what they started." The next 12 hours saw the Redemption coordinating the largest information transfer in human history. The Haven Colony had spent their years in hiding doing more than just surviving. They had been preparing. Quantum weapon schematics, shield harmonics that could deflect the Council's planet killers, and most importantly, the location of every hidden Council military installation their scouts had discovered. As Chen transmitted the data back to Earth Command, she realized this wasn't just about survival anymore. Humanity had spent 5 years turning themselves into a force that could stand against the Council. With the Valoran survivors' knowledge, they could do more than stand. They could win. But the Council wasn't waiting. Long-range sensors detected their advance fleets already pushing toward human space. They had learned from their previous failure to eliminate humanity. This time, they were coming with overwhelming force. Chen ordered the redemption to battle stations. The ship's hybrid systems hummed with power that would have seemed magical 5 years ago. Humanity had absorbed the Valoran's teachings and forged them into something new, something that combined Earth's innovative spirit with their allies' ancient wisdom. "Send word to all commands," Chen ordered. Operation Daybreak is now in effect. Throughout human space, the new fleet of hybrid warships began powering up. Defensive installations that had been disguised as civilian stations revealed their true nature. 5 years of preparation were about to be put to the test. As the first Council scout ships appeared at the edge of the system, Shan allowed herself a grim smile. The Council had thought they were being clever, giving humanity time to rebuild before crushing them again. They didn't realize they had given Earth exactly what it needed: time to become something more than anyone had imagined possible. The war was about to begin again, but this time, humanity wasn't fighting for survival. They were fighting for justice, for vengeance, for the future of two civilizations bound together by sacrifice and determination. The price of peace had been paid in Valoran blood. The price of victory would be paid in Council fear. "All hands." Chen's voice rang through the ship. "Battle stations. We are going to show them exactly what humanity has become." Shadow operations. The stealth shuttle cut through the void between stars, its quantum-masked hull rendering it invisible to even the most sophisticated Council detection systems. Inside, Commander Maya Patil checked her tactical display one final time. After 3 months of careful intelligence gathering, they had finally located one of the Council's secret research facilities, a massive station hidden in the heart of an asteroid field. Validation team. Final equipment check. She subvocalized through the neural interface that connected her to her squad. The 5 other figures in the shuttle's hold responded with green status lights in her heads-up display. Each wore the latest in Earth Valoran hybrid combat suits, technology that had been perfected through desperate necessity. Among her team was Kex, one of the Valoran survivors from Haven Colony. His crystalline skin seemed to shift colors in the dim light of the shuttle's hold. The Valoran's natural ability to process and understand complex energy patterns made him invaluable for this mission. If the intelligence was correct, they would need his expertise. "Coming up on insertion point," the pilot announced. "Council patrols are exactly where our deep cover agents said they'd be. We have a 90-second window." The shuttle slipped through a gap in the patrol pattern that would have been impossible to navigate without the quantum mass drive. As they approached the facility, Patil's enhanced vision picked out details that confirmed their worst fears. The station's design incorporated holding cells, hundreds of them. They breached through a maintenance airlock, their hybrid suits allowing them to move in perfect silence. The Council's overconfidence in their security systems worked to the team's advantage. They encountered only minimal internal security as they made their way toward the facility's central research section. "Commander," Kex's translated voice came through clear in her neural link. "I'm detecting patterns consistent with quantum imprisonment technology, similar to what they used on my homeworld before." He didn't need to finish. Everyone knew the history. The Council had tested their weapons on the Valoran population before attempting to use them on humanity. But this facility wasn't designed for testing weapons of mass destruction. Its purpose was far more insidious. The team reached a security station, and their tech specialist, Lieutenant Sarah Wong, went to work. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, using algorithms developed from captured Council technology to slice through their encryption. Within moments, the facility's database began yielding its secrets. "Oh God," Wong whispered. "They're not just holding prisoners. They're harvesting them, collecting genetic material from dozens of species, looking for something specific." Patil moved to examine the data herself. The Council wasn't merely conducting research. They were systematically analyzing the genetic codes of every spacefaring race they could capture. Species that showed particular resistance to their control were given special attention. The Valorans featured prominently in their data, alongside a growing collection of human genetic samples. They're trying to isolate the genetic markers for independence, Keck said, his crystalline form pulsing with barely contained rage. They want to engineer compliance into future generations. Before Paddle could respond, new alerts flashed across their tactical displays. A Council heavy cruiser had arrived ahead of schedule. They had minutes before their window of opportunity closed. Change of plans, Patil announced. Wong, download everything you can. Kex, help me set the quantum charges. The rest of you, prepare for evacuation protocol Sigma. As her team moved with practiced efficiency, Patil accessed a secure channel to the ESS Redemption, still hiding at the edge of the system. Admiral Chen, we have confirmation. Council Genetic Research Program is active and advancing, requesting permission to implement the Prometheus Protocol. Chen's response was immediate. Granted. Show them what happens when they underestimate humanity's resolve. The team worked quickly, planting quantum-enhanced explosives at key points throughout the facility. But Paddle had one more task. She moved to the central containment area, where dozens of beings from various species were held in stasis. With Wong's help, she initiated an emergency revival sequence. We're not just destroying their research, she declared. We're freeing their test subjects. Let's show the galaxy that humanity remembers its friends. The evacuation was chaos, but controlled chaos. As the prisoners were rushed to their shuttle, and two backup vessels that decloaked on Patel's signal, the quantum charges began their countdown. The Council cruiser detected them too late, its weapons unable to penetrate their upgraded quantum shields. From the shuttle's viewport, Paddle watched the research facility tear itself apart, quantum energies ripping through its superstructure. The Council had believed their secret was safe. Now they would learn that nowhere in the galaxy was beyond humanity's reach. The rescued prisoners included scientists, soldiers, and civilians from a dozen different species. Each of them had been selected for their unusual resistance to Council control. Each of them now represented a potential ally in the coming war. As they rendezvoused with the Redemption, Patil composed her report. The Council wasn't just preparing for war. They were trying to ensure it would be the last war they ever had to fight. Their genetic program was aimed at creating a galaxy of slaves, beings engineered from birth to accept Council dominion without question. But they had made a crucial mistake. By targeting those who resisted them most strongly, they had given humanity and the Valorans the perfect opportunity to build a coalition. Every being they had imprisoned represented a species with the strength to defy them. The Shadow War was about to burst into the light, and humanity had just struck the first meaningful blow. Admiral, Paddle reported as she stepped onto the Redemption's bridge. We've confirmed the Council's intentions, and we've given them something to fear. Chen nodded, studying the tactical display where dozens of new signals represented their rescued allies. Good, because fear is exactly what they'll need to feel before this is over. Fear of what humanity has become. Fear of what we'll do to protect our freedom. And most of all, fear of the justice we're about to bring to their doorstep. The rising storm. The first attacks came without warning. Across 6 human frontier colonies, Council warships materialized from quantum space, their weapon systems already charged. But unlike 5 years ago, humanity was ready. On New Eden, the foremost human colony, Admiral Chen watched from the Redemption's bridge as the new defense grid activated. Quantum-enhanced shields snapped into place around major population centers. Hidden weapon platforms emerged from underground bunkers, their designs incorporating both human and Valoran principles. Multiple Council dreadnoughts detected. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the massive enemy fleet bearing down on them. They're using their old assault patterns. Of course they are, Chen replied, allowing herself a grim smile. They still think they're fighting the same humanity they nearly destroyed 5 years ago. Battle Group Prometheus. Execute Formation Delta. 30 Earth warships dropped their quantum masks simultaneously. The Council fleet faltered as they realized their supposed numerical advantage was an illusion. The new Earth vessels were smaller than Council dreadnoughts, but they moved with impossible precision, their hybrid drives allowing maneuvers that violated traditional space combat doctrine. "All ships, weapons free," Chen ordered. "Show them what we've learned." The space around New Eden erupted in a display of technological advancement that would have seemed miraculous just years ago. Earth ships phased through enemy fire, their quantum shields operating on principles the Council had never mastered. Return fire came not in traditional energy beams, but in concentrated bursts that bypassed Council shields entirely. "Admiral," a new voice cut through the tactical chatter. "Haven Colony reports similar attacks across their secret outposts. The Council found them all." Chen's expression hardened. The Council had been more thorough than they'd anticipated. But that cut both ways. Signal the Haven Defense Forces. Implement Case Omega. Across human and Valoran space, a strategy 5 years in the making unfolded. What appeared to be civilian stations revealed themselves as military strongpoints. Merchant vessels transformed into heavily armed warships. The Council had expected to find isolated colonies. Instead, they found an integrated defense network. On the Redemption's tactical display, Chen watched the battle unfold across multiple star systems. The Council's offensive was massive, but their tactics were predictable. They relied on overwhelming force and terror, the same approach that had served them for millennia against less advanced civilizations. "Enemy flagship is launching their new weapon," Rodriguez announced. "Energy signature matches the genetic disruptor from the research facility." "Right on schedule," Chen replied. "Deploy the countermeasure." From the Redemption's launch bays, dozens of small probes emerged. They carried a weapon developed in secret by Earth and Valoran scientists, a quantum field that turned the Council's genetic weapon against itself. The enemy flagship's beams scattered harmlessly against the defensive screen. The Council commander's transmission crackled through their communications. "This is impossible. You are a primitive species. You cannot have mastered these technologies so quickly." "You still don't understand what you created when you attacked us," Chen responded. "Humanity doesn't just adapt. We evolve. And thanks to the Valorans, we evolved faster than you could possibly imagine." The battle for New Eden became a template for engagements across human space. Council forces, expecting easy victories against isolated colonies, instead found themselves facing an enemy that had spent 5 years preparing specifically to counter their tactics. But the true surprise came 3 hours into the conflict. From quantum space emerged a fleet of ships unlike anything the Council had encountered. The rescued prisoners from the research facility had called in their own reinforcements. Species that had suffered under Council domination for centuries saw an opportunity for liberation. "Admiral," Kex reported from his station, his crystalline form pulsing with energy, "the Arcturus Collective and the Meridian clans have committed their forces to our defense. The Council's attack has become the very thing they feared, a multi-species alliance against their rule." Chen watched as new allies joined the battle, their ships integrating seamlessly with Earth's defense plans. The Council had spent millennia keeping potential rivals divided. In their attempt to crush humanity, they had instead created the very unity they had worked so hard to prevent. The Council fleet at New Eden began to retreat, their carefully planned offensive in shambles. But Chen wasn't about to let them escape. "All ships, pursue and engage." They wanted to see what humanity has become. Let's show them exactly what that means. The next 6 hours saw the complete reversal of the Council's offensive. Their forces were driven back, not just by human ships, but by a coalition of species united by a common cause. The Council had hoped to end resistance to their rule forever. Instead, they had sparked a revolution that would spread across the galaxy. As the last Council ships fled into quantum space, Chen received reports from across human territory. The attacks had been repelled with minimal civilian casualties. Earth's preparation and the Valoran's technology had turned what should have been a devastating blow into a decisive victory. "Send word to Earth Command," Chen ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. The Council wanted a war. They'd got one. But this time, we're not fighting for survival. We're fighting to end their dominion once and for all. The tactical display showed dozens of Allied fleets converging on human space, answering the call that had gone out during the battle. Species that had suffered under Council rule for generations saw in humanity something they had lost: hope. The storm isn't ending, Chen announced to her crew. It's just beginning. And when it's over, the galaxy will never be the same. Breaking the chain. The combined fleet emerged from quantum space on the edge of Council territory, nearly 2,000 ships strong. At its heart, the ESS Redemption led the Earth contingent, their hybrid vessels now joined by warships from 24 allied species. Each had their own reason to see the Council fall, their own tales of oppression and resistance. Admiral Chen studied the tactical display, where the Council's core worlds glowed like jewels in the darkness. For millennia, these systems had been untouchable, protected by the most powerful defenses in known space. But that was before humanity and the Valorans had changed the rules of warfare. All fleet elements report ready, Commander Patel announced from her tactical station. The Arcturus battle groups have taken their positions. Meridian stealth squadrons are awaiting your signal. Chen nodded, her expression resolute. Begin Operation Sunbreaker. Let's show them what happens when the galaxy unites against tyranny. The offensive began not with a direct assault, but with a strategy that could only have come from the human mind. Quantum probes, based on technology reverse-engineered from Valoran designs, slipped through the Council's supposedly impenetrable defenses. They carried not weapons, but truth. Across Council space, secured communications networks suddenly broadcast proof of their leaders' crimes. The genetic experimentation, the deliberate suppression of technological advancement, the systematic destruction of any civilization that showed too much independence, all of it laid bare for their own people to see. Council Defense Fleet is responding, Rodriguez reported, but their formations are broken. Several ships are refusing to engage. Just as the defectors predicted, Chen replied. Their control was always based on lies. Launch Phase 2. The real attack began with precision that would have been impossible months ago. Earth vessels, moving in perfect coordination with their allies, struck at key strategic targets. Council weapons platforms found their quantum shields useless against attacks that came from dimensions their builders had never considered. On the Redemption's bridge, Kex monitored the quantum field fluctuations that indicated success. The Council's defensive grid is collapsing. Their automated systems cannot adapt to our combined tactics. The Council had spent millennia ensuring that no single species could threaten their dominion. But they had never faced an alliance like this. Human ingenuity combined with Valoran technology, Arcturus strategic brilliance, and Meridian stealth systems. Every species brought something unique to the battle, creating a whole far greater than its parts. New energy signature detected, Wong called out. Massive power readings from the Central Research Complex on Helix Prime. The tactical display shifted, showing a massive installation that dwarfed everything around it. This was what they had been searching for. The Council's primary research facility, where their most devastating weapons were developed. They're activating something, Kex reported, his crystalline form pulsing with alarm. The energy pattern. It's like nothing I've ever seen. The space around Helix Prime seemed to twist, reality itself distorting as the Council unveiled their final weapon. A wave of quantum energy erupted from the facility, aimed not at the ships, but at their crews. It's a massive version of their genetic disruptor, Paddle realized. They're trying to rewrite the DNA of every non-Council species in the system. But once again, humanity's preparation proved decisive. The quantum shields developed through the combined efforts of Earth and Valoran scientists held firm. The Council's weapon, designed to end resistance once and for all, washed harmlessly against defenses they hadn't known were possible. All ships, execute attack pattern Omega, Chen commanded. Take that facility intact. Whatever's in there, we need to know. The assault on Helix Prime revealed the Council's darkest secret. As Earth and Allied forces secured the facility, they discovered evidence that changed everything. The Council hadn't just been suppressing technological advancement. They had been stealing it, gathering innovations from countless species over millennia. These archives, Keck said as they reviewed the facility's databases, they show the Council's true nature. They never created anything. They only took, twisted, and used the innovations of others to maintain their power. The revelation spread through the fleet and across Council space. The supposed pinnacle of galactic civilization was built entirely on theft and suppression. Their claimed superiority was nothing but a carefully maintained illusion. "Send word to all commands," Chen ordered. "Push forward to the Council capital." Their power was built on lies, and those lies are now exposed. It's time to end this. The battle for Helix Prime became a turning point. Council resistance began to crumble as more of their own citizens turned against them. Ships that had defended Council space for centuries changed sides, their crews finally seeing the truth about their masters. As the combined fleet prepared for its final thrust toward the Council capital, Chen received messages from dozens of previously neutral systems. The Council's iron grip on the galaxy was breaking. Species that had stayed quiet out of fear now pledged their support to the coalition. They thought their greatest weapon was their technology. Chen addressed her crew. "But we proved that humanity's greatest strength isn't our ships or our weapons. It's our ability to unite, to forge bonds between different species, to turn ancient enemies into allies fighting for a common cause." The path to the Council capital lay open. Their defensive lines were broken, their secrets exposed, their power crumbling. But Chen knew the final battle would be the hardest. The Council's leaders would not surrender their power easily. "All ships, prepare for quantum jump," she ordered. The Council wanted to shape the galaxy in their image. Instead, they're about to learn what happens when the galaxy decides to reshape itself. A new dawn. The Council capital world of Axiom Prime hung in space like a jewel in a cosmic crown, its surface covered in cities that had stood for millennia. For countless generations, species across the galaxy had looked upon this world with fear and awe. Now, as the combined fleet of Earth and its allies emerged from quantum space, that age was about to end. Admiral Chen stood on the Redemption's bridge, watching the final pieces fall into place. The fleet had grown even larger during their advance through Council space, as more species joined their cause. Former enemies now fought side by side, united by the truth about their common oppressor. Council leadership has barricaded themselves in the central citadel, Commander Patel reported. "They've activated some kind of temporal shield. Our weapons can't penetrate it. They're trying to wait us out," Kex added, his crystalline form resonating with the intense energy readings. "The shield draws power from quantum space itself. They could maintain it for decades." Chen's expression remained calm. "They still think this is about weapons and shields. Show them how much they've underestimated us. Initiate protocol unity." What happened next demonstrated why humanity had become the catalyst for revolution. Rather than attempting to breach the shield through force, thousands of quantum probes launched from the Allied fleet. Each carried a piece of a program developed by Earth's best minds, working alongside Valoran quantum theorists. The temporal shield protecting the Council leaders was perfect in its design, impervious to any weapon. But it wasn't designed to defend against what came next. The probes didn't attack the shield. They began to communicate with it. Quantum resonance established, Wang announced from her station. "The shield's own energy is becoming the conduit. Beginning transmission." Through the quantum link, the truth about the Council reached directly into the heart of their power. Not as a weapon or an attack, but as pure, unfiltered information. Every secret they had kept, every species they had suppressed, every innovation they had stolen, all of it broadcast directly into the computers and minds of everyone on Axiom Prime. The Council leaders had prepared for every type of assault except the power of truth itself. Their own citizens, confronted with irrefutable evidence of millennia of deception, began to turn against them. The temporal shield, maintained by the faith and loyalty of generations of technicians, began to flicker. "Shield harmonics are destabilizing," Kex reported. "The Council's own people are shutting it down." Chen opened a channel to all ships. "All forces, prepare for ground deployment. Remember, we're not here for revenge. We're here to build something new." The liberation of Axiom Prime became not a battle, but a revolution. Council forces, their belief in their leaders shattered, either stood down or joined the coalition. The central citadel, seat of council power for thousands of years, fell not to weapons but to the weight of truth. In the citadel's great hall, where the council had once pronounced judgment on entire species, representatives from Earth stood alongside Valorans, Arcturans, Meridians, and dozens of other species. The council leaders, stripped of their lies and their power, faced the justice they had denied to others for so long. "You've destroyed everything," the High Counselor spat. "Millennia of order and progress, torn down by primitives who cannot understand what they've done." "No," Chen replied, her voice carrying through the hall. "We freed the galaxy from stagnation. Your order was built on suppression. Your progress was stolen from the very species you oppressed. Humanity didn't destroy anything. We simply showed everyone the truth you tried to hide." The next hours saw the beginning of a new era. The coalition that had formed to fight the Council now began the work of building something to replace it. Not another empire, but a true federation where every species could develop and contribute equally. In orbit, the ESS Redemption maintained its watch as ships from across the galaxy converged on Axiom Prime. They came not for war now, but for the promise of something unprecedented, genuine cooperation between species that had been kept apart for millennia. "The Council's archives are being decrypted," Wang reported. "The amount of suppressed knowledge is staggering. Medical advances, quantum theories, cultural achievements. They hoarded everything that could have helped other species advance. Then it's time to give it all back," Chen decided. "Every species should have access to their own heritage and the chance to build on it." The Valorans, whose near extinction had sparked this revolution, took a leading role in distributing the recovered knowledge. Their experience with both council oppression and human cooperation made them ideal mediators for this new age. As the sun set on Axiom Prime, casting the ancient city in golden light, Chen stood with Kex and Patul on a balcony overlooking the changes already beginning below. Construction crews from a dozen species worked together, removing the symbols of council power and preparing for the future. "They thought humanity's greatest weapon was our adaptability," Chen mused. "But they were wrong. Our greatest strength was our ability to reach out, to forge connections, to show others that cooperation is stronger than domination." "The Council spent millennia keeping species divided," Kex added, his crystalline form reflecting the sunset in rainbow patterns. "In trying to destroy humanity, they instead created the very unity they feared." The work ahead would not be easy. Centuries of council rule had left deep scars on the galaxy. But for the first time, species that had been enemies now worked together toward common goals. The knowledge and technology the council had hoarded would be shared, allowing every civilization to develop according to their own path. "Send word to Earth," Chen ordered as she returned to the Redemption. "Tell them the war is over. But more importantly, tell them the real work is just beginning." As ships from across the galaxy moved through Axiom Prime's skies, their crews no longer divided by council doctrine, a new dawn was truly breaking. Humanity had not just survived, they had sparked a transformation that would reshape the galaxy for generations to come. The price had been high, paid in the blood of Valorans and countless others who had dared to resist council rule. But from that sacrifice, something unprecedented had emerged. A galaxy united not by force or fear, but by the simple, powerful truth that together, they were stronger than they had ever been apart.